Welcome to another electrifying episode of the Commentary Booth live via satellite, where we peel back the curtain on your favorite wrestlers and their cinematic inspirations. I'm your host, Jamie Apps, and today we're bringing the thrills by welcoming a guest who has undeniably been crucial in the resurgence of Queensland wrestling. This person has been a tag team champion in Suplex, AWA, Wide Bay Pro Wrestling, where he also held the heavyweight championship. He's also the head trainer of Brisbane's premier wrestling school, the 3 Count Academy. Joining us live via satellite, the undeniable Bobby Bishop.
Hello.
Fresh haircut, Bobby Bishop.
More hiding the lump, actually. I don't know what that is. So that came from an injury, like a kick to the head recently, and I think it's a cyst. So, but I didn't realize it was
Bobby
so
Bishop.
in view of the camera. So,
Classic Bobby Bishop, just getting kicked in the head for fun.
yeah. What can I say? I get hit in the head a lot.
Big week for Brisbane wrestling this week with some major announcements.
Oh yeah, man! Oasis got back together. It's great, eh? I've been waiting for that for like a decade or plus. Eh? I'm glad Brisbane really got involved with that announcement. Nah, it's been pretty good. I'm going to be honest. My phone has not stopped vibrating or buzzing because everyone thinks I'm the guy to talk to find out what's going on, and they're partially right, but I wish it wasn't true.
Yep. Yeah, when I woke up on Monday morning and saw the announcement, I was like, oh, Bobby and Jess's couch and phone and everything's going to be in high demand.
They left Jess alone. Like, just
Bobby. Just Bobby.
Jess. Yeah, just me. I'm the pro wrestling league owner and a couple other bookers around here. But, I mean, if I had to rank the best message, there's definitely one guy in Melbourne who gave me he played his cards right if something does happen. So I'm going to tell him that when he gets here. He was the only one who I think did the right message.
So thanks for joining me on the show today. Not really chatting about wrestling, to chat about your favorite movies or TV shows and their influence on your wrestling career. Before we dive into that, how big a part of your life are movies and TV?
So I am this I don't even know how to describe it, but so I'm obviously I'm like 38 this year, so I'm from that era where there wasn't really much in terms of what the video games would like your Segas and your Nintendos and stuff like that. But blockbuster videos and all that kind of stuff was a huge deal when I was a kid, and I think so. I'm not saying my mum was neglectful, but I think mum spent a lot more time at the bar than she did at home, and me and my brother spent a lot of time at home just watching movies and just hiring movies and just marathoning it every weekend. So I would dare say I'm a big movie buff in the 90s.
Very nice. Had to love the Friday night, go to Blockbuster, buy or rent like the weekend new releases and a stack of weeklies.
You know what? What I remember the most was when I got my car for the first time. When I got my license, the first thing I did when I learned to drive, because I lived in a place that's a bit far from like your shopping centers. I was like in the bush a bit. So the first thing I did was I got my car, and it was a Tuesday. I drove the Blockbuster Video. I think it was Blockbuster. Yeah, it was Blockbuster, and it was Video Easy. And I got 2 memberships, and each of them did the $1 per movie Tuesday, unless it's overnight. So I scorned. You can only get up to 20 things. So I got 20 things from one store, and I got 20 things from the other store, and I watched as much as I humanly could, possibly for that whole week.
So on that front, then the big question: what have you chosen as the movie or TV show that has had the biggest influence on your wrestling career?
I always felt this answer would be cliche, but it's honestly true. It's Dragon Ball Z, Goku.
Why that show in particular, and why that specifically that character as well?
So yeah, I picked Goku, but it could be any character in that show. But Goku specifically in Dragon Ball Z is the greatest babyface wrestler of all time. And the reason I say that is because he's not always trying to be a badass. You literally watch him get better through whole seasons, and they're like, what is it like? It's just the dumbfoundedness to him. Like he is the most organic underdog that never loses, which is like, what you could call him the John Cena of anime, basically. In fact, that's probably the best term I've ever heard. I'm going to use that everywhere I go now.
Yeah, that is a good description of him, and yeah, I think he just has that naivety where he's just like, I everybody's a good guy, and it's like, no, not everybody's a good guy. What are you doing?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's just there's something innocent about him. It's just my character in wrestling, especially when I started, was I was a goofball, and then I would fire up at the end. And I always used to say, it's like I'm doing this and doing this and being goofy. Then it gets really hard. I get cut off, and then I turn it, and then I Kaioken it and start fighting back. And then something will happen where it didn't work, and then instead of like being oh no, I comedically or like almost goofy like say something witty and go oh no. Yeah, I guess I gotta try harder. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Just keep trying harder.
yeah,
It's the whole Goku mantra. Just try a bit harder, and you'll be right.
exactly.
So when and how were you first introduced to Dragon Ball Z?
I think I watched Chiz TV. I think everyone in my era loved Chiz TV,
Yep.
and I think it was still to this day. I found like on Facebook there is literally the marathon of Chiz TV. They don't play the cartoons, just the scenes with the guys from it. I swear I put that on and watched like every one of them just for nostalgic pops. But I wish it had the cartoons on it because that would be perfect for me. But I used to watch it. I used to watch it for X Men. I used to watch it for Pokemon. 100% Pokemon. Like I was massively into Pokemon. And then one morning, I remember I hadn't left school yet, but what ended up happening was we ended up staying home. I can't remember what happened. I think my mum's car broke down, and I was okay. Well, I'm just gonna watch TV. And Dragon Ball Z came on, and it's legit the episode where Raditz. It was Goku and Piccolo were fighting Raditz. And Piccolo had to regrow his arm, and he hit him with a special beam cannon. And I was hooked. I was immediately hooked by it. In fact, my favorite. I used to say it all the time before I started like trying to find more influence with wrestling. Piccolo used to be my favorite character because he was legit the first character I ever saw from the show. And then like I have fond memories of it because I remember watching it and I was like, I didn't realize how much I guess addicted to the show I was until it was I think it was like 6 episodes later. So I remember this morning, it was a school holiday and I was sleeping in. My brother come barging through my room, which he never did. He woke me up and he goes, Piccolo's fighting Piccolo. Like he's fighting himself. There's two Piccolos. And I like kipped up out of my bed and sprinted out to the TV, almost tripping over. And that was it. I was just so hooked on it. And pretty sure I was hooked even into like my doll. I recorded every episode and just played it over and over again. Like that was literally how I don't even know if the addiction ever went away until like VCRs became obsolete, basically.
Were you a wrestling fan pre Dragon Ball, or did Dragon Ball come before wrestling?
No, I was definitely a wrestling fan before Dragon Ball Z. I was super into it. I think I said this in the previous podcast, but I'm not trying to bring up my mum in the bar too much, but it is what it is. So mum liked to drink a lot, but what she used to do was so we'd sit down and sort of like back in the day when bars, especially when people could smoke in them and shit like that, we were put near the TV, and I remember we were just drinking our soft drinks, making paper airplanes out of the kinos, like all the papers that are on the tables. And I remember I looked up and I thought it was boxing, but it was wrestling. And I think it was, I can't remember who the match was. I just remember, I think it was Ron Simmons. I remember Ron Simmons wrestling maybe Arn Anderson or something, and Ric Flair being the manager. And Ric Flair kept attacking Ron Simmons when the ref wasn't looking. And me as a naive kid thought that was boxing or some kind of real fight. I was like, oh my God, that guy's getting involved in the match. And I remember just being like, oh, I guess that's legal in boxing. And then I would unfortunately tell family members and like uncles that I like I wouldn't mind watching boxing because of that one match. I need to watch and be horrified of what boxing actually is as a
Yep.
kid. And
They're not quite as entertaining if you're a kid.
no, it's like I remember watching it and then like ADHD took over. I'm bored and I would play on my toys and stuff like that. And then I think it was a couple of my cousins or someone started playing wrestling on TV at their house, and that was it. That was where I really realized what it was. When I watched the whole show, because when you're at a bar, you can't hear the sound or anything. You're just watching the screen.
Yep.
So I didn't know what it was. But when I went, I can't remember if it was friends or someone. I just remember watching. It was just a normal WCW episode, and they showed me WWF as well. As soon as I saw that, once I saw all the components and everything, like that was it. I realized what it was, and it was more amazing than what I thought it would be on that silent TV. And then I was hooked, and I think that was 5 or 6. No, it would have been 7. Sorry.
So then when you did discover Dragon Ball Z, did you immediately like correlate and relate those two together?
You know, kind of not, but I guess kind of yes. It's a weird thing. So with wrestling, I used to be obsessed with it when I was a kid, and when I was a teenager, especially, I was obsessed with wrestling. But what happened was because I have a hyper focus on things, like if I enjoy something and I can, what's the word, like absorb it and enjoy it so much, I will just have a hyper focus on it. It took me when I was an adult, and this is like what I was saying about Dragon Ball Z being like very compatible with, like, very comparable to wrestling. I had the same obsession and feeling of obsession with Dragon Ball Z as I did with wrestling when I was watching it. Yeah, same feeling, same emotions, same everything. Like, and it wasn't until I became an adult where I started learning about wrestling, the psychology of wrestling, and the storytelling of wrestling, and characterization of wrestling, that I realized that's why I like Dragon Ball Z, and that's why I'm into wrestling. I like what this is. I like what the structure is. I like the story telling to a fight that's more compelling than just two guys punching on, which is probably why I hated boxing.
Yep, yeah, there's a bit more to it than in boxing.
Yeah.
So was it only Dragon Ball Z, or did you watch some of those other spin-off series and go into the manga if you were that sort of hyper-focused person?
Yeah, yeah. I used to. I tell people all the time, like, especially when they come up and they. And I know it sounds like an old man thing, like when they go like, "Well, back in my day, they had this thing. It was grander than what kids have now." But like when people bring up, like, and this, I know this is not new anymore, so I'm not delusional, but like, I remember specifically people telling me about Bleach or telling me about Inuyasha and a couple other new shows and stuff like that at the time, and even runs recently. And I actually got some people to watch these movies where I've said it was somewhere in the 80s and 90s that anime had a renaissance of fucking movies that were amazing, like Akira, fucking Fist of the North Star, Ninja Scroll, like these beautiful. I mean, Ninja Scroll's pretty dirty, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the art style. They managed to captivate the modern like what do you call it? Us basically, and the American audience, and make it mainstream. But it wasn't. What I'd say was like the reason they were so good was because these movies were so focused on a story where you didn't really need to understand. It could not even be in English, and you knew what was happening on the screen.
Much like wrestling, like you can understand the story just by watching it. You don't necessarily need to hear the commentary and all of the other bits and pieces.
100%. One of my favorite movies in the whole world is I love the Mad Max movies, and I love the Mad Max 4, the Fury Road. Is I thought it was like one of the most perfect movies I've ever seen in the modern era of like the past 10 years. And the reason I thought that is I was obsessed with like the other movies. I used to watch all the documentaries. And I saw George Miller mention this, and I thought it was amazing because that's how I feel about anime, and I feel about like, even Dragon Ball Z. Like you can watch something and not understand the words, but you understand the emotions that are going on. George Miller wanted to make a movie where dialogue was minimal, but you understood what was going on. Like it was continuously moving, things were happening, and you could watch it. You could watch it in silence, and you understood the story. And I thought that was so smart because he wanted to be able to like if it was played in China, they knew what the story was by just watching it. It's the perfect analogy to make a universally great product or movie or story.
I think he achieved that too with that movie. That's one of my favorite movies as well because yeah, you can just watch it. You don't. I think there's probably like what 5-10 minutes worth of actual spoken dialogue in that movie.
You know, like that was like besides the first movie, obviously, the first Mad Max. It keeps in trend of main character Max not actually talking because he doesn't talk much, which is what actually makes him a like I guess an even better character because you his silence is like I don't know what it is, but his silence brings more to the story than it does if he just kept talking.
Wrestling fans, are you ready for the ultimate showdown? Pro Wrestling League and Renegades of Wrestling are teaming up to bring you the Australian Wrestling Super Show. It's all happening Friday, February 14th at the iconic Eaton's Hill Hotel in Brisbane. Kick off your AEW Grand Slam weekend with a night of epic action. Expect the unexpected because with an open door policy, anything can happen. Who will show up? Who will throw down? Gold tickets are already sold out. Silver seats, they're over 50% gone. You don't want to miss this. Grab your tickets now at Linktree/Pro Wrestling League and start your weekend with a bang. So then in terms of Dragon Ball, did you have a favorite story arc or villain from the series?
Oh, yeah, I do. So, this changed a lot as I got older. But so when I watched it, I was like I said, I watched it from the beginning. But like my problem was I wasn't switched on enough to know you can um or do a timer for the recording of on your VCR. So if I got lucky, I got lucky. I watched an episode, and I watched the Saiyan saga, but I only watched bits and pieces of it. Mainly when they were fighting Vegeta and Nappa. I saw some of the coolest episodes, but I never saw how it officially finished. But I saw a lot of the Frieza saga, and even then it was the same thing, like blah blah blah. But once I managed to figure out the VCR, it was just going back into the Frieza saga. So I managed to watch the whole Frieza saga. I thought it was really great, and then I ended up going to watch back the Saiyan saga. And then when I was younger, because the Saiyan saga was probably the last one I got to watch in completion, I thought the Saiyan saga was amazing. I just thought the build up of all the separate characters was great. But now as an adult who's watched the series, especially the original dub series with the music and stuff like that, 100% will say that the Frieza saga, the Frieza story, is probably the best story in Dragon Ball Z. And the reason I say that is because it's what is it? It's Goku's story, especially Goku's story, is amazing. But you have Vegeta's story in there, and Vegeta's story goes from this evil character to this almost sad and compelling death that he has at the end of it. Because like as you watch the whole show, you've watched him not sort of turn, but you sort of get an idea of who he is based on the flashbacks of what happened to Planet Vegeta and how subordinate the Saiyans became and like what they did to him. That by the end of it, you kind of just empathetically understood Vegeta and the way why he was the way he was. And then when he dies and then bleeds his heart out about how he's not defending anything he did, but he's screaming and pleading to Goku, "Don't let Frieza do this to someone else," is the most adult thing I've ever seen in a kids show. Like it's a masterpiece of
It's
character.
very heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. I cried when I was a kid when I watched that because I thought it was the saddest thing I've ever seen, especially watching all the backstory leading up to it. But then you have even just Gohan. Like Gohan's story in it was a great build where you starting to see the pieces that led later into Cell. Piccolo going back to his home planet finally, and then like building on that whole previous villain. But I feel like the Frieza saga was where officially Piccolo did the complete turn. It was right sort of near the end of Saiyan saga where he did the turn, but the Frieza saga was it. It was officially done. His story arc about how from being a villain that hated Goku to becoming a complete ally. Like it just had so many things to it. It had so many character development, and that's probably what the magic of Dragon Ball Z really is. But then removing all that, the fight between Goku and Frieza, what feels like was supposed to be only 5 minutes left of the planet before it blows up, felt like 5 years to us. Some of the best episodes ever.
Yeah, I think that Frieza arc is the strongest in terms of showcasing the whole ensemble of characters. Like the Saiyan arc is absolutely just Goku, but then yeah, that Frieza saga, you get all of the characters getting their big moments, and it's why I have a statue of Vegeta and Frieza over there because they're Vegeta's my ultimate Dragon Ball character.
And that fight scene between Vegeta and Frieza, where there's like a moment in there, and I always tell everyone like, there's a moment where you're not getting heartbroken, but you're feeling so bad. Like, it's where Vegeta gets that last Zenkai boost and decides to fight Frieza, but then starts to realize he's not going to win, and you start to see him cry and break inside because he's just this whole life goal is just meaningless now.
So then, in terms of how it has impacted your wrestling, how has Dragon Ball Z influenced the makeup of the Bobby Bishop character?
So, ironically, when I started, I was called the Retro Kid, and it was because I wanted to find something that was goofy. I thought it was the greatest idea ever, and now I look back, it was not the greatest idea ever. But
Probably a lot of wrestlers that can say that about their first gimmick.
I think I told Mick Moretti once that it was that I about my thing, and I told him like it was the best fucking idea I ever had. And now looking back on it, I'm like, ugh. But no, I did this Retro Kid character, and the character like I did slow motion run. I did the Bay. I came out to the Baywatch theme for fuck's sake. Like I was doing
Oh
so much
gosh.
comedy and stuff like that, and like and everyone like that's why I did the thumbs up. The thumbs up comes from the Retro Kid thing because I used to do this or this like a dork and a goofball, and everyone liked it. With that character, I eventually sort of had to keep evolving, and I wanted to like how evolving and how Dragon Ball Z was more applicable here was when I realized when I was a retro kid, I was like goofy all the time. Like Todd Eastman, who was the booker at the time for one of the shows, actually he still is. Actually, this was a recent show. Once told me every time there's a serious moment in wrestling, I'm just making jokes. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I do because that's my character. And then he called me out and it's saying, like, no, it's not your character. You're just doing that because you're covering. And then that really hit me when he said that because I was thinking about all the times I've done a promo where I was meant to be serious and I just made a joke of it. So I was trying to think about what to do, and I think I was calling myself the cult classic at the time, which was meant to be like the next evolution. Essentially, it was just a retro kid wearing glasses and a hat backwards. It was pretty dumb, actually. But yeah, and so when that happening was there was a saying where it's like, train hard, work hard, and you'll be undeniable. And I heard it so many times. So what happened was I won the Y Bay heavyweight title. And to be fair, I've told the story a few times, but I didn't even know I was winning it on the day, which was the most funny part ever. So because I was always being a comedic character, I talked my way out of winning belts a lot because I
Yep.
just was comfortable with where I was. And then Todd decided to put me in a rivalry with the guy who had the belt at the time, Rip Riley, who was like a tag partner who turned on me, and he said, "This is your turn to becoming something serious." So essentially, I realized my character actually had to change in this rivalry. I can't be just joking over this guy who was like meant to be my tag partner for 3 years and betrayed me. So I was starting to think about the evolution, and the one thing I thought about was Goku and Gohan, especially Gohan being this innocent kid who didn't know much, who literally got thrown to dinosaurs in the jungle to be toughened up. And then you watch Gohan in that fucking Android saga, or even the Cell saga, that he's changed. There's a complete switch to him. Like he's just gone through so much shit where he's just there's not one part of him. It's in a you can't tell he's a kid anymore. Like he's
Yep.
talking like he's an
Yeah,
adult.
he's had to grow up very quickly.
Yeah. So that sort of switched on me, and like even like Goku's tenacity of like he can be funny, but when the moment is just like indescribably like horrible, he steps up. He turns into something else. So watching that and watching how they did that, I try to apply it in my promos because I was like, I can't just switch. I need to do something. So essentially, I didn't stop making jokes, but I was sort of merging. Then as I got closer to this match, I did a promo where I snapped finally, and I learned that and I screamed and stuff like that. And then in my actual matches, when I did comebacks, I grab my arms, I put it next to me like this, like you can't really see, like on the side. I do it all the time, and I feel like now if this gets out, everyone's going to point it out and realize what I'm doing. But
Your
it looks
power
like,
up moment.
yeah, it looks like I'm doing this, like trying to like take in the energy of the crowd, but I'm doing the Kaioken. That's literally what I'm doing. I'm just doing the and that was the switch where I applied that the Dragon Ball Z to my matches. When I fire up, I'm thinking of the Kaioken. When I need to fire up harder, I'm thinking about when he does the Kaioken times 3, times 4, times 20. Like stuff like even when I'm going for my finisher is like when he hits the last Kaioken, like against Frieza. When I think it was after he got drowned.
Yep.
Yeah, and he has the dream and he comes back. By the way, that was something I was trying to note myself to bring up in this interview. That is the perfect comeback to a match if you watch that scene. He's getting drowned. He sees a vision of Earth being destroyed and Frieza winning and stuff like that. Like there's no hope. Blows up. The mounts are still stupidly against him, and then just powers up into a Kaioken. So powerful that he like there was no way he wouldn't even know he could handle that. And came in and punched Frieza while screaming that he's not going to let the Earth down. Just the best comeback. And that is something like I do think about when I actually think about story, I mean, especially if I'm in a big match with a big story, with something more personal in it or something intense. The final comeback, my match, I'm literally thinking of that scene and doing the whole like screaming and everything like that, trying to get into this like monstrosity of like power surge before I hit my opponent.
And you want that to sort of really be quick and over in a short amount of time too. You don't want it to be, oh look, I did this great big power up, and then we went another 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, I do glimpses. So like at the beginning of my match, I won't go straight away, but then when I start getting the momentum, I'll start making the like that kind of thing, or I catch them, spin them, and then I hit them with a big move. And when I hit a big move, I'll make like a sound like I've just hit a power move, basically. You know, the difference is I'm not screaming KO, Kame Kame Ha. Like,
Could be a good one to just drop in there one random time, see what the audience does.
but yeah, that's pretty much how I sort of applied it. Like, I know that was sort of a long rant.
So since you are so attuned into sort of Goku has been the inspiration for your character,
Hmm.
who else from Australian wrestling would then make up the crew of Piccolo, Vegeta, Gohan, etc.?
Okay, so let me just look at it this way. So, Vegeta would be Jack Bonza, 100 fucking percent. And the fact, I know for a fact that he loves Vegeta, so I'm sure he'll love me saying that. But I'm not saying that because he loves Vegeta. I'm saying that because he would be Vegeta, because just who he is as a person.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just the angry man all the time.
Yeah, angry man. He's got a bit of humor to him, but like competitive, like very competitive. and like trash talker. Like he could trash talk. He's annihilated me in locker rooms before. Friendly, but he lets me know he could go worse. Gohan would be Little Mars, 100%. Just because I keep throwing her in danger on purpose.
And yeah, she seems very friendly at times, but I don't think I would want to mess with her too much.
No. You don't want to. She'll talk your ear off about what's wrong with you. She doesn't do that, by the way. I'm just throwing it there. Because I know she'll watch this and then she'll be like, I don't do that. And then she'll tell me everything's wrong about me. Oh, man, so hard, eh? I think Tien would be Davis Storm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. The wisdom behind it. You can feel the wisdom behind Tien.
Yep.
Piccolo would be. I'm just trying to think. See, this is tough now, eh?
Yeah, Piccolo's a hard one.
Yeah, he is.
He's such a unique character that has so many different phases of
Yeah,
his
he
character.
constantly evolves. You know what? If there was a Piccolo in wrestling, it'd be Jake Andrew Arthur for sure. Now I think about it.
Mhm.
Like, if you really met him, and what he's like, this is a man who could probably kill you, but he's very friendly.
Yeah, big teddy bear.
Yeah, 100%. Yamcha?
Yep.
Here's my issue with Yamcha. How would you describe Yamcha?
Yeah, he's not the greatest character. He's never been one that.
I feel like his peak was the Saiyan saga, and then he got blown up.
Mhm.
And even I watched Dragon Ball Abridged, and they flat out call that out too.
Yeah, because then he just kind of becomes afraid to do anything. He doesn't want to die again because he knows he can't come back.
Yeah, no, yeah, and rightfully so. You know what? I won't pick anyone for Yamcha. Krillin, but respectful for Krillin. Talk about a dude who just keeps he's not catching up, but he keeps trying to. At least he involves himself in everything. You know what? I'm gonna pick Jess, not because of any particular reason, just because I can hear her screaming in the room right now, and it's distracting me. So I'm gonna call her out and call her Krillin.
She'll love that when she watches this.
Oh, I hope she does. You know what? I was originally gonna pick her to be Vegeta or Piccolo, but then I started thinking about it. I was like, nah, who am I kidding? She's Bulma. No, I'm not even gonna. Nah, I gotta take it back. She's Bulma, 100%. I see her every day, and I watch her do interactions and the sassiness and stuff like that, or the way she bosses people. Everyone's scared of her. That's actually, you know what? We've nailed it there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I noticed so many episodes where the most powerful beings in the universe just get scared of Bulma yelling at them.
Yeah, when Bulma snaps, everyone pays attention and goes, "Oh, okay, whoops."
Yeah, it's like right after Cyborg Frieza gets killed, she's like yelling at Vegeta, and Vegeta's like backing off a bit because he's just what Krillin. I got no one for Krillin because someone is short, someone is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of someone that just like is there. They lose, but they're still trying really hard.
Fudge.
Yes, 100%. It's a big Fudge.
Yeah, it's Big Fudge.
And then Frieza. Frieza's probably the last big one that we should try and pick someone for.
Frieza. Okay. Who would be Frieza? Matt Hader.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Just a big shit talker.
Just a big shit. Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying he's called people monkeys, but I'm sure he's called people a lot worse than that.
Are you a trading card collector or a fan of Australian pro wrestling? If so, you're not going to want to miss out on the limited edition Australian wrestling cards. Each set includes 50 packs of 10 cards, including some of the country's top wrestling talents like Robbie Eagles, Shane Haste, Madison Eagles, Hartley Jackson, and they have Shaza McKenzie listed, although she is not a favorite. The Velocities, and a lot more. There's wrestlers, referees, announcers, commentators that are featured, giving you a full appreciation of the Australian independent scene. The cards sold out a lot faster because cards are hot right now, as I'm sure Jeremy Lambert will tell you. But you can order your Australian wrestling cards now at Pario Magazine. That's PARIO magazine.com.au/AUS WRES cards. Follow Australian Wrestling Cards on social media at AusResCards for updates. Join the hundreds of fans who have already discovered the excitement of Australian wrestling cards.
Has your character evolved over the years and brought in inspiration from other properties or forms of entertainment as well?
I definitely would say a lot of the comic stuff, but 'cause I read comics as well. Like I'm a big DC fan, slightly Marvel as well. Like I do enjoy a bit of Marvel as well, but there's definitely some things in comics where I really love. Like I'm trying to debate how I go about this without going into a super rant, but I don't know. And have you ever heard of Superboy Prime?
No.
Okay, this is what I was hoping you would, so I wouldn't have to go into a rant. But, anyone who's in the comic books has heard of the Crisis on Infinite Earths or the Infinite Crisis, the Crisis trilogy. So, Crisis on Infinite Earth, Superboy Prime was just a normal cat. He was one of the Superboys from a different universe. By the time the him and the original Superman from like the main original Superman, not from the main universe, like the first one created in comics. Him and Alexander Luthor, who was a good guy in his universe, they stop the main villain and they get stuck into a pocket universe to protect themselves. Infinite Crisis comes along, which was like one of my favorite crises, and the reason is because it gets revealed. They use it to retcon all the things they've retconned basically, and without any explanation, which is they punch through the pocket universe and it sent a ripple through the whole universe, and it changed things. And then all these things are going wrong. Like all the bad guys are joining up. Like there's a lot of cataclysmic events are starting to happen, and then it gets revealed that it's Alexander Luthor and Superboy Prime who are the bad guys. Which is I love that. I love the idea of taking the character from the first story who was just an absolute hero, and then doing that twist. That whole story arc of a bad guy to a good guy to a bad guy to you know what I mean, like keep switching, but having this integral sort of little bits of character growth to get him to be a good guy or a bad guy or a good guy is some things that I look at in pro wrestling. Like you can't just come out and be a good guy one show and then the next show, same fed, come out as a face or a heel. You need to be able to tell your own character story. You don't even need the booker to book it. You can do it with your actions, your emotions. You can sell it on your face that you're slowly turning. Like all you got to do is think. You got to try and look at pop culture. You got to look at stories. You got to look at stuff like what is some of the best stories where you see a bad guy become a good guy, like movies wise, especially. Find that. Try and channel it in your matches. You can do promos, even you can do your own content, but like that has been more like stuff like the comics. That's just a good like a one example of a comic story that I like. There's heaps of examples like that where if I'm thinking about how do I make this develop in wrestling or how would I get this over in wrestling, I think of multiple multiple media, which I'll think of this story from comics, or maybe I'll think of a movie, maybe I'll think of a TV show I really like, and that's how I apply the comic dynamic to wrestling.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like it's very rare that you see a wrestler that just is a face the whole time. Like there has to be that evolution, and you do need those connecting figures that push you to those points as well. There's no very rare to just go, okay, now we're going to be a bad guy.
Yeah, no, 100%. You need to see the little like integral parts that break the character. Like at the moment, at Y Bay, I've just turned heel. I attacked Yeet Stevens right at the end of the last show and challenged for his title and got like boos and everything like that. The thing was, when Todd pitched it to me, like because I've been a face my whole entire like career basically. And I'm still gonna be a face at Pro Wrestling League. This is just another canon because they needed a heel, they needed something different. They can't just keep using the same guys. The funny part was when he told me, I didn't even have to think much because, and this is what I try to tell other wrestlers, you don't need to create a scenario on why you turn heel. The greatest example I'll give you is I had the tag titles from Y Bay. I lost them on Pro Wrestling League to Culture. Cool. Before that, I lost my heavyweight title to Tim Hayden because Top Tier interfered in my match. Then I got a rematch. Same thing happened. And then I did a tag match, and then Rip won, and he got a chance to face him. I didn't get my rematch, even though I'd been screwed twice. And then the culture match, I got screwed again, but by a different opponent who's in Pro Wrestling League. And then the last show, I think I was at before I turned heel. I wrestled Culture again, except they had this guy called Certified Papi, who's just like a comedic heel, who's just integrated himself into Culture, even though he's not part of Culture. So we were facing him, and he just kept causing problems. Like they weren't even a good team or anything like that. But he got one thing right, which was he pushed one of the main Culture member out of the way from my finisher, and I hit him instead. Turned around, took a spear, and I got pinned. And then at the same time, when all this stuff's happening, Yeet Stevens beats Tim Hayden. He's beaten Top Tier. He's beat Rufio. He's beaten all these guys. He's meant to. We've been numerously like, even in previous before I won the title, like it was always said that we're friends. Like when he got attacked by Rip Riley, who's the guy who had the belt that I won off. He was Yeet Stevens was actually in a rivalry, sorry, with him at the time, and it was established in the storyline that I was his friend. So when I had all these dynamics together, I was talking to Todd. It was like, well, I got screwed over so many times in my matches. You had a match where Yeet Stevens and Mitch Ryder just pinned them, like did a double pin, and then instead of the belt not being vacated or anything, you just gave him another chance, even though it was like a rematch with Top Tier. So we have that as a reason why I broke. Like, why did he get another chance and I only got two? And I got screwed on both those times. Then I also put in the fact that he's my friend. He never gave me a shot at that title. We put in the culture things. We were unfairly booked in a tag match on another show, practically 2 weeks out, after we won them 2 weeks before. And we lost it. It involved White Coal's Most Wanted, who weren't even announced for the show, interfering and becoming part of the match, plus another rivalry. We never got a rematch, and I wasn't even on Y-Bay after that because there was no rematch. Followed by all these other little tiny pieces. So now on the next show where I'm going to go out and make my explanation, which is in 1 week's time, I'm taking all these pieces, squishing them together, and making my own story out of it. We don't even need to do a promo. We don't need to do any content. Nothing. If you look hard enough, you can find the pieces on why your character is changing. You just gotta look hard at what you've done in the year. And yeah, the audience isn't gonna remember that, but 100% you have legit content where you can show it online. Like you can make a little clip show. You can show all these things. People can watch a 40-second clip and be like, "Yep, I got it. I understand why he's a bad guy now." That's all you need.
Yeah, like you can have the 6-month long booked storyline. That's all well and good, but if you do need to change something all of a sudden because someone injured or you just want to freshen something up, if you are paying close attention enough, you will find the bits and pieces to put the stories together.
Yeah, 100. The best kind of heel turns, the best kind of turns in wrestling are ones where you didn't see them coming, but after they happen, you realize they were actually quite noticeable to begin with.
Yeah, I think we saw that recently with the Mariah May turn.
Yeah.
It was kind of always bubbling there, but it was never super obvious until sort of closer to the just before All In. That's when it really became obvious that there was going to be that turn. And then when it happened, everyone was like, okay, yeah, cool. That made a lot of sense. It was there and meant something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this the the example I got too. I don't think it was so much not noticed, but Dom turning on Rhea was 100%. I remember I watched what's her name, Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio beat Rey Mysterio and Selena Vega. I think it was Selena Vega, and then that's when Rhea returned at the end of the match. The first thing I said when I was watching it with my mates was, "It doesn't matter what happens after this. I feel like Dom's going to turn on Rhea and still be with Liv. The reason is He has been with Rhea for this long and was never, ever able to beat Rey Mysterio, his father. He did one fucking match with Liv Morgan and he finally pinned Rey Mysterio, his father. And it was like, that is secretly, without seeing it, but you will see it, they'll probably bring it up when he does the turn, the breaking point for his character to realize, I don't need Rhea because this girl got me what I wanted.
Closing out the episode, what is the best piece of advice you as a trainer give to younger wrestlers trying to form their own characters?
Don't overthink it. You don't need a character does not need, you do not need to have every little bits. You don't need to write it like it's it's a supporting character in the Titanic movie with a full backstory or anything like that.
I did an episode with Axe Massacre yesterday, and she was talking about how when she started, she had all of these different influences coming in, and there wasn't that elevator pitch for the character. It was this extensive description of the character, and it took her a while to pare it all back. And then once she got it back to that, then that's when she could take off with the character.
Yeah, 100%. I was always told you should be able to describe your character in one sentence. And I know that's like a cliche thing, but it's probably not one sentence. Probably it's something short. Like right now, my character. If I had the knowledge I did right now, and like I was on the sort of streak I was at the same time, the best description I'll say was undefeated underdog. It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense if you watch me wrestle.
Mhm.
Yeah, so what the best advice I can give you is don't overthink it. Don't, for the love of God, don't try and do a character that is so obviously still on the cinemas right now. Because I hate that. And this comes from a dude who dressed up as Deadpool just before the movie came out and called himself Dreadful as a parody because he didn't want to expose who he was underneath the mask and people see how green it was. It was bad. Do not do that because one, the audience is going to know what you're copying. And yeah, it's cool. Like it's great. It's like when Sting became the Crow. He can do that because he's Sting, and they had a fuck ton budget to make that look good. We are in RSL's big like we're not in that money, people. The audience doesn't care about your backstory. All they care about is what they can identify straight away when they see you. So you got to figure out your character can't have a complex backstory. It just needs to have. You just need to be able to see what the character is, and you need to be able to act like the character in the ring, so the crowd can go, "I get it."
That's what Del Carno said in his episode. It's those first impressions really matter. Like as soon as you walk through the curtain, people need to be able to identify this is a good guy or this is a bad guy.
So just very quickly with that, like the reason I thought the Retro Kid was gold is because it hit one thing right, and I thought that was all that mattered. But really, there was a shitload of other things that mattered. I came out to Baywatch, biggest smile on my face, and did the slow motion run. And when I high five people, I high fived them so fucking hard. Like I remember one time I high fived my partner and a bunch of kids, and her response was, "Do you high five the kids that hard?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was not happy with me.
Don't do that.
But I was so fired up and hyped up. I didn't need to tell the crowd who I was. All they saw was this goofball who was fired up and had energy, and that's all they wanted. They just wanted to feel. They just wanted to feel the energy and get involved with the match, which I brought them in all the time. I looked at them, I worked with them and stuff like that. That's all you really need in wrestling. If you want to be a serious wrestler and like no character and stuff like that, cool. Just sell. Please sell better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just going to be the serious wrestler, you've got to work a lot harder, I guess.
Sorry, I know we're trying to close it off, but I'll just say this. AJ Istria, you think he's just a serious wrestler. I used to think that a long time ago. I didn't judge him on it. Like I just thought, okay, yeah, he's just all about that, all about the sort of wrestling. Until someone told me what his actual character is. And the moment they said it, it was like I clicked and I remembered everything I've ever seen him do. And they said, AJ Istria is an MMA fighter stuck in the crazy world of pro wrestling. So,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
That
Like
makes sense.
a professional MMA fighter dealing with the absolute fucking balls of the walls, rise from the dead, fucking attitude era-esque fucking characters. And how would a real fight, a real violent professional fighter react to that? It's still a character. And he very clearly, you can identify that when you watch him in the ring and watch how he interacts with other characters. It doesn't matter how goofy they are, you can see it.
Yeah, that's great. So then, lastly, looking ahead, what's in store for you in wrestling over the course of the next? How many months we got left? 4 months.
Well, next year was supposed to be a quiet one for me, and then things went crazy the past week.
It went sideways on Monday.
It's yeah. I know we're months out, but I don't think I have enough time to get ready for it.
But yeah, that's probably going to be the best place for people from outside Brisbane to catch you. Go and check out any sort of wrestling that pops up on that weekend, because I'm sure there'll be plenty that show up there.
Yeah, definitely.
So where is the best place for people to support you and track the wrestling journey moving forward?
Sorry, Undeniable Bobby Bishop on Instagram. I use that a lot more because that's apparently an old man social media thing now. The Undeniable Bobby Bishop on Twitter. And I don't really use my Facebook as much, but if you want to catch my matches and stuff like that, Pro Wrestling League on YouTube, shows are quite, the filming, the quality, editing, everything is perfect. You'll love it. It was very comparable into some of the top shows in Australia. 100% you'll catch me there. Please up our views.
Wonderful. Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth live via satellite. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and YouTube. You can follow me on social media at JamieApps Media and at Pario Magazine. And thanks again, Bobby, for taking the time, and good luck with everything. We'll see you in February.
Thank you.